In this video, I'm looking at a twin-speed belt-driven turntable direct from Germany. The company is called AVM and the turntable is called the Rotation R 2.3. Now, in terms of price, you're looking at the upper end of the mid-range bracket and we're looking at about £3,500. Now, I've reviewed turntables from Germany before, and I find, generally speaking, that the engineering and the design is excellent. Very solid, very well made turntables. The turntable sound, again on a broad level, tend to be big and bold with quite exuberant bass. Maybe the dynamic reach in terms of mid-range might be not quite as far as you might expect, but German turntables, again on a very broad and general level, are excellent turntable designs indeed, and I wondered how the AVM would fit into that picture. Now, apparently AVM has built this turntable in-house. There's been no external agencies involved in the design of the 2.3. It's quite a sturdy, quite meaty turntable in terms of weight. We're looking at around 12 kilograms. The plinth is made from a weighty combination of MDF and aluminium. Looking down onto the top of the plinth, the sub-platter sits inside a recessed section. A flat belt runs to a pulley which also lives in the recessed area. This area is then covered by a perspex platter. 4 screw-in feet are attached under the plinth, which also allow leveling and height adjustments. Above to the left, you'll find 2 speed buttons and a stop standby button. Immediately underneath this part of the plinth is a rocker switch, which controls blue diodes. They're built into the turntable to provide ambient light. You can turn these off, dim the light, or present a full blast illumination. I turned them off during the sound tests. There's a straight 9-inch arm in situ with a top-mounted anti-skate pin. From that flows a standard fishing wire based weight. VTA and azimuth screws are accessible, but there is no protective clip on the tone arm yoke. The entire turntable runs off a wall wart power supply and you're given a lid as part of the package, but during the sound tests I removed the actual lid. I'm not a great fan of lids in situ during actual play because they create a lot of vibration and that damages ultimately the sound quality. So when I'm actually listening to any music, if I have a lid on the turntable, I'll take it off. When it's not in use, everything's powered down, I'll put the lid back on, keeps the dust out, but during play itself, I'll take the lid off. Included phono cables are the worthy Project Connect It E at around £45 or so, spanning 462mm by 350mm by 155. The rotation is available in aluminium silver and black. During the sound tests, I used an Ortofon Quintet Black S with a nude Shibata diamond tip stylus. I began with the dynamic track from 10cc, Art for Art's Sake, from the album How Dare You, and was immediately intrigued by the mid-range, which sounded smooth and a little sweet in presentation. Here the mids seem to glide without any apparent effort. Music without friction, you might say. Now, music without friction isn't all fine and dandy to some ears because a lot of the fine detail is contained within the hills and valleys of those grooves. And what the Rotation R 2.3 did not have was a tremendous amount of insight. So tonal realism was not a priority here. Some turntables offer you a detail, a string pluck on the guitar for example, and they almost allow you to see it as a 3D object. You can almost feel the texture of the actual string. The Rotation R 2.3 wasn't about that, but that's not to denigrate it in any way. the Rotation R2.3 approached the presentation of sound in a different way. What this turntable is all about is the big picture. What is this song trying to say? What's it all about? And what's the artist all about on this song? Big questions, not itty-bitty stuff like, hey, do you want to hear the skin on this drum give in a sumptuous, organic way? Not that, no. Look elsewhere if you want that sort of finely described detail. What the Rotation R2.3 wants you to have is a great time, so it gets into the soul of the sound, or the funk of the sound, to be more exact. It gives you the rhythmic guts of the music. It wants to party, basically. Now, the AVM did offer lots of detail. The soundstage itself was pretty broad, and that offered lots of information. The broad midband from the lead electric guitar was brazen, actually, in its aggressive nature. Rhythmic guitars were obvious by their presence. Drums were notably claustrophobic and clipped, which was how it was meant to be on this track. Treble-based cymbals were delicate in their approach, while the vocals offered enough information to draw you into the song. So what I'm getting at here is that the detail was here. It might not have been finely described, it might not have been accurately tracked, but basically the heart and the soul of all of the basic bits of the band were given to you, given to your ear, and you really got a feel for the music. You got, as I say, you got the soul of the actual band, the soul of the track. Bass, meanwhile, was strong, meaty and weighty. There was a real foundation to this song. Drums were punchy, but they threw a big punch, not a quick jab. I then turned to vocal jazz and Sandra King's original release on the Avenue label, the big hits of Henry Mancini and the track In the Arms of Love. As expected, the double bass propelled the entire track forward at some pace, keeping the rhythm quick and bouncy with a piano that held a sort of gravitas. The bass support from the turntable focusing on the bigness of the piano structure. The instrument sounded large. It held a presence. Around these dominant features, King's vocal was clear and easy on the ear. It was complex in its approach and very entertaining. Brass had a sweet delivery, almost sexy in its approach, that provided an extra element of swing to the tempo. I then turned to a track For the Love of You, a funky ballad from the Isley Brothers via the album reissued by Speaker's Corner, The Heat Is On. The German Audiophile label really went to town on this reissue, and the AVM appreciated the fact. And this is the thing about the AVM, because the AVM seems to take advantage of the very best sources that you can provide. So with this particular Isley Brothers release from the German audiophile label Speaker's Corner, it offered an excellent mastering performance that produced a top quality sense of clarity, and the AVM just drank that up and loved it to bits, because the AVM sounded probably as balanced and as neutral as I had heard it during this test. Or, and this is an alternative thought on this particular track, I wonder if the excellent performance from the AVM from this track might possibly be something to do with the mid-70s, sort of golden sepia mid-70s classic mastering that you hear from this Isley Brothers LP. I wonder whether the AVM, which does lean towards a sense of sweetness, just gets on with that classic 70s Valve-esque sepia-ish master. That 70s sound, I'm sure you're familiar with it, but the AVM loves it. It just loves that classic rock, classic soul, classic funk sound. Yes, there was the same underlying sweetness to the mids, and bass was firm and mighty, but the lead vocal, having room to breathe, was nicely presented by the AVM. the golden glow of the Rotation R2.3 was able to fit right into those warming vibes. Is this a deck for 70s classics, therefore? So what do I think of the AVM Rotation R2.3? Well, vive la différence! There's a turntable out there for you which might not be the turntable for me, and vice versa, but that's the joy of the hobby. The Rotation R2.3 is not for those looking for finely described detail, but those who want smooth, sweet mids, big, bold bass, and the essence of the music in play. It can get sultry with you, and it can freak out. This turntable will give you all of the information you want and need, but it won't stand there with a PowerPoint explaining each element of the music in detail. The Rotation R2.3 is all about mood and fun. It's all about the groove, in the rhythmic sense, that is. It's all about the power of music. And that's why I like the AVM. It gives you a choice. It offers an alternative way of presenting music to your ear. It offers something different, and I like that. So good on AVM. And that's me done. Thank you very much for staying to the end of the video, and also thank you for subscribing. It's much appreciated. Check out the description below. You'll see the reference kit I used to test this particular turntable. You can check that out yourself. You'll also see a host of links, including my Patreon page, which includes a whole array, a growing array actually, because I add a new one every month, a whole array of different buyer's guides, from turntables to speakers, CD players, and more. So check those out. Also, you'll see links to social media platforms I'm on, including my own Facebook group, and you're welcome to join that as well. Until the next video, and I hope to see you there, bye bye for now.